Live from America's heartland, this is the Daily Truth Report with your host, Noah Christopher.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Daily Truth Report, and a big welcome back to our good friend, Bo Polny. Bo, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Noah. God bless you, and appreciate being here. So, yeah, what a pleasure to be here. And we are Friday, the 25th of April.
We are, and I called Bo up and asked him if we could do a special show. This is a little bit of a victory lap and a lot of things to celebrate. For anybody who tuned in to the last time Bo was on, there's a lot to talk about, and Bo just nailed it twice, really. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But real quick, just a few housekeeping notes here. We are live right now. So if you're watching us on Friday, April 25th, we're about 1 o'clock in the afternoon Central Time. Then you're live with us. Of course, you may be watching this later on a replay, and that's fine. But if you're live, drop me a comment. Let me know that you can see us okay, hear us okay, and just say I'm here or say where you're watching from, and that tells us that we're connected and we're all good. We're on YouTube, we're on Rumble, and we are on X streaming live. So go ahead and drop us some comments. And oh, here we go, starting to come in. That's good. So go ahead and drop us a comment. Hit the like and subscribe too, wherever you're watching. That does help get this message out. I know sometimes it seems silly, but it really does help. It tells the computers that you want to hear more from Bo and to promote this out to everybody that's following. So that helps us out a lot. And then the last thing is, since we are live, if you have questions, drop them in the chat and I'll try and put them up on the screen and get them to Bo. So there we go. I'm seeing hello to Marty from Portland, Oregon. Hello, Irene, Austin, Texas. Fantastic. Thumbs up from Michigan. Okay, so we are connected. Bo, there's so much to talk about, and just so you don't have to pat yourself on the back, I'll do it for you. You nailed it, man. The last time you were on here, you told us there was 2 dates. It was May 14th, and we'll talk about that a little bit later maybe. But the big one was you said April 20th, heading into the 21st. Watch that date, circle it big on your calendar. Let me just play, and then I'm going to turn this over to Bo. Let me just play that little clip from the last time Bo was on. I'm going to share my screen, and I've got it queued up. Listen to what Bo told us about 2 weeks ago when he was on this show.
Stuff begins to get exposed, and we will never be able to go back in time. We will look back at this April, particularly April 20th into the 21st, as the greatest time point in history, where it'll be everything up to this date and then everything after this date. And again, coincidentally, it's 4/21.
Okay, so how cool is that? Of course, if you're listening and you somehow don't know, April 20th, heading into the 21st, Pope Francis died. And I mean, he died in that heading into it. I think it was 1:30 in the morning Eastern time when he died. I mean, you can't get more April 20th into the 21st than dying at 1:30 in the morning on the 21st. And then also that very same day, out of the blue, out of nowhere, Klaus Schwab steps down from the WEF, and just a crazy day. Bo, I'm going to turn it over to you. We will also stick around. When I say Bo nailed it twice, we're going to show you a sneak peek from Bo's paid newsletter where he told us the markets were going to go up beginning on the 21st. And here we are 4 days later, and Bitcoin's up $10,000. So stick around for that. We're going to give you a sneak peek inside the paid newsletter. We'll do that closer to the end, so don't go anywhere. But Bo, you nailed it. Not only did you nail the date, you nailed the turning of the clock from one day into another, but then you also nailed that, you know, this is a marking of time that's going to usher in a new season. And, you know, it's true. The evil's not all gone right now. All the bad guys aren't gone. We're still fighting these activist judges, and we're fighting everything else for this country. And that's all still ongoing, but there's been a shift. So let me stop talking and let me just turn it over to you, Bo.
Thank you, Noah. Yeah, thanks for the intro and kind of showing all that. I want to start off with saying, you know, none of this is my math. It's God's math. God gets the glory. He just happens to use a regular guy like me
to do extraordinary things. And that's the best way to understand what's going on. This is not about me. This is, I honestly, the important thing to understand is God is showing us using ordinary people to do extraordinary things. But by doing this, he's showing the world that he is in control. This is his story. And we are simply on this earth at such, like the saying is, at such a time like this. Oh, people, you don't know what's coming and how awesome our near-term future is going to be. This is incredible what's about to happen. Okay. So that's the point I'm trying to make. Like the date was perfect, but no, if I want to, it's the importance of the date. Because remember, if you go back to that podcast, which you don't have to, but I'll talk about it. What did we say? And that actual time point, April, maybe you can just confirm here, but April 20th into the 21st, 5 years ago, is what put you and I together, is it not? Because that's when oil, I did a podcast. I said, watch something as historic happen on April 20th into the 21st. Same statement.
It was
in the year 2020. And I don't know what it was. Just like I didn't know Pope was going to die. I just knew something biblical was going to happen. And what better biblical thing could happen would be the top of the church. When I say church, meaning the Catholic Church is the church of the world. Okay. There's like billions of people that are tied in with the Catholic Church and the papacy. Okay. So the head of the church dies literally as it transitions from midnight the 20th into the 21st. And the same thing happened 5 years ago. Oil going to negative $38 a barrel. I didn't know the event. I knew that date was critical. And just expand upon that for a second, Noah, just so the viewers know this did happen and that did put us together.
Oh yeah, it's hard to believe that's been 5 years ago now. That time has flown. But yes, and we talked a little bit about it on our last show. But that was really the first I had seen of you. You were on Greg Hunter's show, and shout out to Greg. He does great work over there at USA Watchdog. Big fan of all the work that he does. And he had you on, and you were talking about an upcoming date. At that point, it was upcoming. I think it was probably March or something. And you said, watch April 20th into the 21st, something big is going to happen. And then, of course, what happened was the price of oil for a barrel of oil went to negative $38, which means if you could somehow figure out how to take delivery of a barrel of oil, they would pay you $38 and give you a barrel of oil, which, of course, makes no sense and had never happened ever in the history of the world. And it happened on that date. And I believe the system broke back then based on what Trump was doing. That was something he had, all of his policies and freeing up the oil. I think he absolutely broke the system, and then they had to cover it up. But that was what we saw. And then I said, yeah, I got to talk to this guy. So I said, Bo, we come on this show, and you did. And then it wasn't too long after that you said, hey, there's another big date coming up. And I think it was
40 days. 40 days.
Was it 40? Well, it was whenever Ruth Bader Ginsburg died.
Okay, well, first, yes. So first it was because that was an Exodus moment. So 40 days and 40 nights. That was May 31. And then 150 days was May 18th, 2020. Please continue.
Okay, yeah. And then you said another, just like the oil thing. I don't know what it's going to be, but something big is going to happen on this date. And then we all watched, and actually we kind of some people started messaging me saying, oh, Bo was a one-hit wonder. His system got it right once, and now this one's failing because it was getting to be about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, and nothing had really happened. And then we get that famous clip of it's dark outside. Trump's getting off Air Force One, and they say Ruth Bader Ginsburg has just died, and he says, "Wow, you're telling me for the first time." And so then, sure enough, and then of course that leads to all. It's never what happens on that exact day. That led to the new Supreme Court justices that gave us Amy Coney Barrett, who recently has been disappointing, but was the vote needed to overturn Roe versus Wade. And so that was another absolutely historic moment, getting RBG out of there and getting Roe v. Wade overturned. And so then 5 years later, here we are again, April 20 to the 21st. And you said it on this show about 2 weeks ago. You said, circle that date again. And then Pope Francis is gone. Now, whether he died on that date or whether he died a couple weeks ago and they kept him on ice, there's a lot of theories going on out there. His face did not look right, but that's when it was announced. and Easter Monday, as they call it.
Yep, exactly. So the point is, so you have to go back, and this is what the Lord has really been emphasizing to me. The date of April 20th, 2021. So if you want to pop on slide number 6, that date, I know this years ago. He was so clear about it. That date was a marker in time. That's all I knew. And so, and the first thing I heard on the marker in time was just since it's a moment in time relative to Genesis and the Great Flood. So then you study 40 days. So if you look at the arrows there, 40 days, which is Genesis, written in Genesis 7:12. You got George Floyd riots. Riots break out across the world. Okay, this is important because 40 days from the marker of oil, negative $38 a barrel, rioting goes global. So George Floyd event happens. The next day, Paris is rioting, and then Berlin and all these countries all over the world start rioting the day after George Floyd. Like, that doesn't make any sense. It's a U.S. thing, right? And then we literally saw rioting go global days and weeks after that. It turned into everything we watched. It all started on May 31. 40 days.
Yeah, and then that was what they started calling the summer of love. Remember that? That was the summer before the 2020 election. They needed chaos. That was the pallets of bricks being dropped off in all major cities and entire downtown areas being destroyed and ransacked. And that's right. You told us this is coming, and sure enough, it took over the whole summer. It was terrible.
Right. And so, but like nothing, there was nothing. And then May 31 hit, and then pandemonium global. So it's just incredible how these time windows work. And then, but it kept raining for the water kept rising for 150 days. That's Genesis 7:24. And on September 18th, 2020, Ginsburg did. What I'm trying to say is, like, if you just so that was a marker in time. Just like the death of the Pope and Resurrection Sunday, okay? That marker can be used to count the future, count forward. So if we use the same calculation, we're going to arrive at May 31. Well, interestingly, that's when evil gripped humanity. Peace is taken from the earth. Let's say that. Peace was taken from the earth beginning May 31, 2020. So, Noah, what's the exact opposite of peace taken from the earth? What's the opposite? Peace returning to the earth. Watch May 31, 2025.
I'm writing. I always write down notes as we talk, Bo. I'm writing that down.
Now, the Lord didn't tell me that, but I do know that we're stepping into a mirror image of the past 5 years, reversed.
Well, that's good.
Okay. So everything and the hell that we've gone through, everything we've witnessed and seen, we're about to see the mirror image of it, which would be the opposite. So it's like you hit a fork in the road. We go back to where we went the wrong way, or it's a do-over. But from a timing standpoint, it's going to be everything we've seen, but opposite, I guess, would be what I'm feeling in my heart, what the Lord's revealing to me. So we need to really pay attention closely to, there is another date for you if you're writing dates down, okay? Because there's a huge probability that all wars will suddenly come to an end. That's a mathematical calculation. All I know is we're going to watch together what's going to happen. But this is very important. Now, back to what just happened with the Pope. So why that's important is because if we go to slide number 9, you'll see that this event happened on 4/2/1. So slide 9 tells us that event happened on 4/21. Well, why is that number important? See, the number is important, but more so, this is not my number. The Lord revealed to me how to understand the number. Does that make sense? In other words, you can look at numbers all day, but if you don't know what they mean, then it doesn't take you anywhere. So the 4/2/1 number is a biblical number, And how is it biblical? Well, you can break it down in many ways, but I'm going to give you the 50,000 view version of what 421 means. I've shown this before, but on page 2, the 50, so you're in a plane 50,000 feet up, you're looking down. If you go to page 2, this is the 50,000 foot view of what it means, okay? So from creation to Jesus, it was 4,000 years. Well, scripture tells us a day is about 1,000 years to God, right? So if you drop all the zeros, there's your 4. From Jesus to his return, 2,000 years. Drop the zeros. There's your 2. And then the millennial reign, which means 1,000-year millennial reign. There's your 1. 4, 2, 1 adds up to a 7. Interestingly, you put a dot between them. It's April 21. Okay. So why was April 21 in the year 2020 important? For the same reason April 21 in the year 2025 is important. You get what I'm saying? And the only difference is page 7. Page 7 is the marker of calculation relative to time. So if you look on page 7, there's a clock. A clock within it has 1 hour, and an hour has 60 minutes. But remember, we just read, it said very clearly that a day is about 1,000 years. So what God is telling us, see, it's the glory of God to conceal a matter. It means to hide a matter, to conceal it. But it's the glory of kings, us, to search it out. That's scripture. Okay, that's right out of the Bible. Okay, so God conceals things to make them hidden in the mystery, because he's not going to tell you what he's going to do. He's going to make you look for it. You know, he's like, it's like, you know, it's like God's not going to give you fish. He's going to show you how to fish.
That's true.
Right. So he wants you to fish. Go fish, and I'll make you a fisher of men. Right. And so he's not going to give you the answers. He's going to show you how to get there. And so if you take the same concept, 1,000 years is about a day. Let's remove the word minute and let's just replace it with month. Not that complicated, right? So instead of 60 minutes, you got 60 months. Okay, let's do that. Well, 60 months just happens to be April 2025 from oil going to zero. 60 months. Interesting, isn't it, right? Now it's like, that's kind of interesting. And at the 11th hour, Trump got elected for a second term in November. And then you count down the months, and we get to April, and then April 20th, 2025, on the exact same day, the Pope dies. Like, all I know is if there was one person that could have died, or should have died, or whatever, just that died, and it would be the top of the biblical system, like I said, it only makes sense that it would be the Pope. And then the next scripture comes up is slide 9, which you showed earlier. But First Peter tells us that judgment begins in the house of the Lord. Okay, wait a second. Let's listen what that says. It says judgment begins in the house of the Lord. So let's read that backwards. Judgment's coming, but before judgment arrives, where does it begin? In the house of the Lord. So what the scripture is telling us is judgment's coming, but before judgment comes, it begins in the house of the Lord. So you got to understand, like, read the detail of because he's all about detail. He's master of details. And so judgment's coming. So God's not going to bring judgment to the evil people of this world, because First Peter says he's not going to bring judgment until it first begins in the house of the Lord. So now that it's written in the Bible, God, he's not a liar, so he can't go against his written word, his spoken word. He can't go against it. So because he's not a liar, he can't go against it. He must bring judgment at the house of the Lord before he brings judgment on the evil people of this world. Are you with me? Like, how cool is this, right? So now this is the interesting part the Lord revealed to me. Well, we all know that at that moment in time at Passover, who was visiting with the Pope? JD Vance. So JD Vance visits with the Pope. Well, that's interesting. The next day he dies. So right at that transition point, he's visiting him on the 20th, 21st, we head into the next day, he's dead on the first thing in the morning. It's all interesting. But now the math is fascinating. Okay, so what the Lord revealed to me is so when he says count, I got to count backwards. So if I count backwards 7 years, and 7 months, we arrive at a very important date. And that date, we can go play to slide 22. And what happened was there's a sign in the heavens. It was Virgo giving birth. This is in scripture. It's called Revelation 12 sign. Revelation 12 appeared on September. If you want some pen, or you have a pen, write this down. Revelation 12, that was written in scriptures 2,000 years ago. It appeared in our lifetime, in our heavens, on September 23rd, 2017. Okay, well, that's interesting. Now, the next calculation we want to look at is that it actually occurred at the last day as Rosh Hashanah ended. So, if Rosh Hashanah is ending on the 23rd, when did Rosh Hashanah begin? It actually began on slide 24. If you want to look at that, Rosh Hashanah, slide 24. Rosh Hashanah began on September 20th, 2017. Okay, so let's keep this very simple. Rosh Hashanah begins Trump's first year as president, 2017. Rosh Hashanah begins. Rosh Hashanah, by definition, this is God's feast, God's appointment. It's the head of the year. It's the start of the year. So this is the beginning of feast. So this is one of the most important time points in biblical history. And so it is Rosh Hashanah. And so it's the start of the year, September 20th, 2017. So we take September 20th, 2017, and you add 7 years and 7 months. 7 years and 7 months. And on that exact day, JD Vance is in Rome meeting with the president. With the Pope. Sorry. So he's meeting with the Pope.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's interesting, but I see a little mistake, I see a problem, because if you look at the math right there, if you got 7 years and 7 months, you got 7 years and 7 months. What is missing, Noah?
Mm-hmm. Well, it'd be your 7 days.
Right. You're missing our final number 7. Okay. So in other words, you're missing a 7. So something is supposed to happen 7 days later. Are you kidding me? Trump now is going to be at the funeral 7 days later. So what the math is screaming is the death of the Pope was a marker in time for the world we know is about to shift and change. So that's a marker that's going to stand the test of time forever. But the next important date would based on this is 7 days later. And Trump, lo and behold, is actually in the Vatican at the funeral 7 days later. And all I know is that, as great as the event so far in the calculations with the passing of the Pope, okay, that's fantastic. Something biblical was supposed to happen. But again, the prophecy was, quote, if the pharaohs of this world want a demonstration of my power, a demonstration they shall see. My first strike comes in April. Okay, so the death of the Pope is biblically important, but I don't think that's a demonstration of the power of God. Secondly, several prophecies spoke about an angel of death moment, which we've played on this podcast with you several times already. Okay, you got Carolyn Dennis not only stating about the angel of death, and there's 5 prophets have stated the angel of death. Carolyn Dennis, God gave to Carolyn millions dead. Okay, so we haven't seen that yet either. So is that going to happen in April? See, so I don't know. All I know is we're still in April. I find it fascinating we're missing 7 days. I find it fascinating the 7 days are actually going to be, the 7th day will be 1 week after Resurrection Sunday. So that takes us from the 27th, if the next slide, 25, that takes us from September 27th into the 28th. So that would be the equivalent of adding 7 days from the 20th to the 21st. Are you with me?
Mm-hmm.
So is this time point going to go down in history as one of the greatest time points in human history in the year 2025? Let me tell you, there's a very, very big chance something is about to happen. And that's all I know. On the calendar clock, if you go to the next page, it's interesting because Resurrection Sunday was the 20th. If you add 7 days, you get to the 27th. The 27th into the 28th. The 28th is a new moon. And Nisan, so Nisan is the month that Jesus died on the cross and rose from the dead. Nisan is the month that 185,000 Assyrian soldiers died overnight. Nisan is the month that Daniel was thrown in the lion's den. Nisan is the month of the writing on the wall, many tekel upharsim. That's the night Belshazzar died. Babylon fell, was given to the Medes and the Persians. Nisan is the month that all of this went down in history. So all I know is God is not going to reveal the day or the hour that something is going to happen on this event. We've already seen the fulfillment of resurrection, an event going down. The problem is we still haven't seen deaths. Carolyn did have a prophecy about the next week, which I find interesting. There will be more deaths this week. That was 2 days ago. My good friend, Pastor Manuel Johnson, received a prophecy and the funny thing was I normally never listen to other prophets. Like for the most part, I've got a lot of my things that I've already put together. So I just kind of been working specifically, doing a lot of interviews in the past few days, past few weeks here. So I was driving in the car just on the 22nd, which was 3 days ago. And lo and behold, Pastor Manny's video came up. And so I started watching it because he just got a word from the Lord. And it's fascinating, the word they received. He goes, and the prophecy is very interesting, which kind of really caught my attention because, so the Lord revealed to me about, this missing 7. Okay. You all with me? There's a missing 7. We got 7 years and 7 months at the resurrection and the death of the Pope, but we're missing 7 days. Okay. So Pastor Manny gets a prophecy from the Lord on the 22nd of April, 3 days ago, because today's the 25th. And the prophecy went like this. Very simple. Watch the next 5 days.
Well, there you go.
Okay. So if it's in the 22nd, watch the next 5 days. Guess what day you get at?
Yep, 27th.
27th. There you go. See, so is that a second witness to the math? So God shows me the math and then gives a prophecy to Pastor Manny to second witness the math. So all I know is we're in Nisan. Watching the next 5 days takes us to the end of Nisan. Nisan is a biblical time point where biblical things happened, where God, in the month of Nisan, historically, God changes the course of history. And then that steps us into what's called a waxing crescent moon, which is on the 29th. So let's just throw this out there and make it, since we're putting this on video, let's throw it out there. Let's just see. So we're missing a 7. That takes us to the 27th into the 28th. That would mark the 7 days missing from the 20th to the 21st, giving us 777. That means that the biblical clock indicates that something ends at 777. And repeat that. The biblical clock from Revelation 12 sign indicates, and Rosh Hashanah 2017 indicates that the time point of September, the time point of April 27th to the 28th is biblically completes a 777 cycle, which means that something new begins the day after, would be the 29th. So there is a very, 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 very large likelihood and probability that we're finally going to see a shift in the financial system beginning Tuesday into, say, Wednesday.
There we go.
Of this month. So expect joy in spring, but do expect, so all of those who have been waiting forever for silver to move. Lord, when's silver gonna finally break free? So because gold's been doing it, we've said what? This is a race. If this were a racetrack with horses, the first horse out of the gate is Bitcoin. Gold follows, and the last one is silver. But then silver goes like crazy and it becomes gold on steroids. But silver hasn't broken vertical. So the likelihood, there's a very, very, very high probability we're going to see silver break vertical next week, Tuesday into Wednesday, potentially. If there were a time point that I could throw on, and I'm giving this to the viewers, why not? God reveals things, and I got to I got to put it out there. So will it happen? We're all going to watch together. If it doesn't happen, it's still going to come regardless. Whether it happens at this time point or not, it's irrelevant. It's coming. Okay. And it's really close. Really close. But there is a biblical time point based on the moon cycles. And again, this is because the crescent moon represents, that's when Rosh Hashanah is called. Rosh Hashanah occurs when a crescent is seen on the moon. This is biblical. Okay. So that will be the 29th into the 30th of April. And then May begins. And there's a prophecy about Mayday, 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 Mayday. That's a call sign of emergency. So the stage is set for something biblical to manifest here. And when silver goes, okay, remember Bitcoin, XRP, it's going to go right with it. Okay. So we've been waiting and waiting. And there's been several times we've watched it all play out. There was a point in November, which Noah and I did a podcast. And I say the same thing I said, watch the first week of November, Bitcoin's going to do a $30,000, $40,000 jump. Bingo. Okay. It happened right on the money. And this is another time point like that where we could actually see something awesome start here. So that's at least an understanding of time and what I believe is going to happen in the financial realm in April.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, Bo, I remember that back in November. It was before the election, obviously, and Bitcoin was at about 70,000. And you came on this show and you said expect $30,000 to $40,000 jump in Bitcoin, and then we ran up almost all the way to 110,000 in the weeks to follow. So to hear that we might get a repeat of that is very cool. Our guest today is Bo Polny, the analyst of time. And if you have questions for Bo, go ahead and drop those in the chat. If you're live with us right now, we got a lot of people watching on YouTube and Rumble and on X. So go ahead and drop those in if you have any. I'll try and get them up on the screen. Can't promise, but I'll do my best. And Bo just gave you a ton of free information. Always appreciate you coming on the show here, Bo, and being generous with your time and putting out these incredible reports and PDF files, which, by the way, you can download below this video. I'll put the link. All of these slides Bo puts out for free. You can grab them. I know a lot of people grab those and just kind of save them in their files and look back on them, and they're pretty incredible to look back on. But Bo, I started at the beginning of this show, and you're just starting to talk about the finances and silver and Bitcoin, and maybe a huge explosive week here as we head into April 28th and 29th. We've got Trump in Italy, April 27th into the 28th. So just going to be one domino after another, it looks like. But I don't want to lose sight of the fact that I said when you were on last time, you really nailed it twice. You nailed it with April 20th into the 21st, and obviously the Pope dying early in the morning. We've talked about that already. But you also nailed it. Your paid newsletter subscribers know this because they read it, but we didn't put this out because you have to be fair to the people that sign up for your newsletter. But we're going to give a sneak peek here. This is a snippet from Bo's newsletter from April 15th. And you said, look at this highlighted part here. And I can attest to this. I get these newsletters, and whenever the email alert comes in the inbox and it says there's a new report from Bo, I always click it, stop what I'm doing and click in. And so April 15th, I clicked in and read this, and it says the long-awaited vertical price explosion for Bitcoin begins Monday, April 21st, after Resurrection Sunday. And Bo, I'll let you walk everybody through this, but I'm just going to scroll down real quick to this one, because here's when you put out the newsletter, April 15th, right here. Here is April 20th, the Pope dies, and then you say it's going to start the next day. Look at this. From here to here, Bitcoin went up $10,000 in a matter of 4 days. So absolutely incredible. You got a lot more in here. I'll turn it over to you and let you walk people through this.
Yeah. So again, cycles precede events. You can actually see it. It's written right under. Was it April 15th? Bears and bull cycles precede events. That's, regardless of war, manipulation, natural disasters, Fed announcements,
all of it is included in the cycle already. That's crazy, okay? But it is. And so just a perfect example, scroll up one page right there. There is the Dow of 19, no, I'm sorry, down. Go to the Dow, the pink and the green. So there's the Dow of 1929. All you got to do is do your homework. So the Lord says to me, go look at 1929. So when I hear that, I immediately, want to compare cycles. So I hear these little, little words, but then I apply it and I go search. And so the glory of God is to conceal a matter, but then you want to search. That's the glory of kings. So you compare that to present day Dow in the middle right there. Come on. If that is not identical, I don't know what is. It's like absolutely identical. So all I wrote was the bear market on the stock, the down cycle on the stock market ends on 4/21, April 21. And then beginning April 21, after that date, the stock market is going to begin to rise. Noah, go to one slide higher. So you could go to the next pink and green chart. There it is right there. So this is from today. I literally pulled this today. Look what happened.
Mm-hmm.
That was from the 19th. Point number 5 was April 21. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's identical.
Yeah, they do. They're looking identical.
Identical. And then beginning on the 22nd, the stock market began to rise. Huh, what a coincidence. Because it isn't. It's actually a cycle replaying itself. So when you go, so then I knew that Bitcoin, based on this cycles, and if you go back to what I wrote on the 15th, the verbiage, I said when you go study history, Bitcoin always turns up a few days before, but a week usually before a final stock market bottom. And so when you look at the patterns, you'll notice that Bitcoin bottomed to go up again to the orange green there. Yeah, you'll see that Bitcoin bottomed at 0.3. So go up one higher. You'll see that Bitcoin bottoms at 0.3, and then it doesn't bottom with Bitcoin on the 21st because, like I wrote in the article above, I wrote specifically Bitcoin usually bottoms a week or so before a stock market final bottom, and then it's exactly what happened. It literally happened perfectly. That's why these news reports or these articles I write are fun, because I don't write like, hey, if this happens, then that could happen. And you can attest that. Like, when was the last time I ever wrote in the newsletter and a private subscriber, like, if this happens, then expect this. But if this happens, then expect that. Never.
Right.
I never write if then. All I say is from this day forward, expect this amount of days up, and then when it should, or this amount of days down, and so there's a cycle in the up direction to this day, and then the cycle turns down to this day. That's all I write, and the accuracy, generally speaking, is crazy.
It is crazy, and that's why I wanted to show this, and appreciate you giving a snippet of this, putting this out there, because otherwise this usually is private, and it even says here right here it's private. So
Bitcoin. I'm sorry, go back to there again. I just want to read that. So here's what I read. Bitcoin. So the long-awaited vertical price explosion begins Monday, April 21, after Resurrection Sunday. Bitcoin has been generally moving and outperforming the Dow stock market, as you see on page 6, which we basically talk about for the past 6 years already, but it's on page 6. I've shown how it correlates. Presently, the Dow is following the 1929 Great Crash cycle, see below, and the 1929 cycle indicates that Dow should drop bottom into Monday, April 21. That's exactly what happened. Historically, Bitcoin turns up a few days before a final stock market bottom. It did.
Yeah, incredible. So let's see here, Bo. Let me scroll down here.
And since then, we've had Bitcoin, like I said, it's up 10 from the 21st. It's up $10,000, not by accident. It was expected.
Yeah, that's only 4 days ago. So in 4 days, it's jumped $10,000. That's pretty incredible.
And then go back up one chart on the US dollar, and then we'll finish up on the Bitcoin index. But if you just go up one chart to the US dollar chart, okay. So why is Bitcoin about to explode? Because the dollar is about to crash. Why is gold and silver about to explode? Because the dollar is about to crash. You see, if you look at that cycle chart, what you're seeing, that black dash line,
One, two, three, four, 5 times the US dollar bounced off 100. It's like 100.50 roughly. So the 100 index, it bounced off of it 5 times in the past since the year 2020. So 2020, all of 23, all of 24, it bounced off the 100 index. And guess what happened in the month of April? This month, it broke below, currently trading at 99.50. So that's called a break of support. It just broke support. Get ready. It's about to plunge. When the dollar plunges, is it going to be good for Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, XRP, gold, and silver? Because those are the opposite side of the US dollar. So when the dollar crashes, those finally break free and are going to have the greatest move we've probably ever seen. But understand, and then we'll get into the index in this one, but what happens is there's only one thing that they can try to do on this explosion is try to contain it. So when this explosion happens, and it's going to be an explosion, they're going to throw everything they got at it to try to take it down. So May is going to be interesting because it's going to explode, and then we're going to see a drop like we haven't seen in a long time. So, and we have the time points for all of this that's about to happen. So that's why it's going to be like a no-brainer to deal with. But it's going to be an interesting next few months.
Yeah. And, for people that don't have a finance background, this when Bo puts these charts up here and the US dollar's going up or it's going down, it's real simple to think about. If the dollar is losing value, if it's worth less, then it's going to take more dollars to buy the same thing, right? And that's where you have these historical images of people with like wheelbarrows of cash in the Weimar Republic trying to buy a loaf of bread. That loaf of bread is still worth the same thing. It's still a loaf of bread, but it costs a lot more dollars to buy it because the dollars have less value. So when the dollars go down, then things like Bitcoin or gold and silver, they skyrocket up. So that's what this chart is showing you. You can see that blue arrow right there. It's breaking under support. If it goes down to that red line, Bitcoin and all other crypto, and I'm in the XRP family, they're going to go up. So pretty incredible to see there. That's what you're looking at on the screen. If you love this stuff, I always like to say, if you're just having a good time listening to this show, Bo gives you so much value. He's already given you April 28th and 29th to watch out for next week. Kind of a freebie there. But if you like the real detail and going deep on this stuff, there's everything Bo does, he puts out for free, except for he has one paid service where basically, people say, Bo, give me more detail and put it into a big report. That's what he's got over at his Bitcoin index. It's up on the screen now. You'd go to gold2020forecast.com. And then as a gift to everybody watching this show, you can, if you want to sign up for that, you can put in the code. It'll ask you when you're signing up, if you have a code and you type in WLT49, it's going to take 50% off and get you in there. And you can, you'll get all future newsletters. And then also you'll have access to the full archive and historical database. So I always find it really fun to go back in and look at some of these things. You can pull up this April 15th report for yourself and read it, and then you'll get all the future ones. Usually Bo releases a couple of these a week. Whenever he sees something new happening, he'll give an update. So I love those. And then also, I'll put this up on the screen too, because I always hear so many good things about this. If you're listening to this and you've been hearing about Bitcoin for the last 5 years that Bo and I have been talking, still can't believe it's been 5 years, but you've been hearing about it and you just haven't known how to get involved. It's been intimidating to you. You can go to this one right here, easycryptoschool.com. That's something Bo and his son put together, and it teaches you everything you need to know about how to do crypto, how to buy it, store it, do it safely. If you don't know anything, it'll take you from not knowing anything all the way to doing it safely. What are the safe apps, the safe websites? What does it mean when it says not your keys, not your crypto? What are keys? How do you send this stuff? So you can go there if you want to get that. But if you don't want either of those things, then just listen to the show and enjoy that. So I always love that, Bo. Thanks for putting out so much and giving some freebies here on the show today. You you give a lot away for free, and especially your time. So we really appreciate that. And maybe here, let me see if you don't mind giving a few more minutes of your time, I can throw a few questions up on the screen.
Sure.
All right. Let's see here. Well, we got blessings from Guatemala. I love that. Hello, Ali. I saw one up here. Oh, how about this? You've talked about this before, Bo, and some of this might be, we just have to say it's in the report. But Mike is asking anything going on with SHIB, SHIB.
Yeah, just understand, like they're all they're trying to do their best to control all the cryptos. Okay, so SHIB is no different than XRP. Okay, it's they're trying to control the price movement, and so they have these, they use any measures that they can to try to hold these prices down. But when they lose control, then you're going to see the explosions on XRP, on SHIB, on a lot of these good coins. So I have some, and I'm just waiting for all this to happen. But Bitcoin is granddaddy, okay? And so when you read the newsletter, we follow the price specifically of Bitcoin because Bitcoin determines direction. You can go back and study history. XRP's never had a great day unless Bitcoin's had a great day. It's kind of how it is. If there's some news announced, Bitcoin's going to go up, and maybe if it was XRP news, XRP would jump more that day. But Bitcoin and all the other coins, they all move together, but Bitcoin determines direction. And so we're getting to a point where Bitcoin's about to have a big jump. Okay, so if Bitcoin's going to have a great day, a great jump, a great move, a great week, then these other coins that we've been waiting for, they're finally going to go with it, and this is going to be a historic time point. So I think those that have been holding and waiting for SHIB to move, it's going to go with Bitcoin.
Yeah, very good. And that's another one that so some of these have already moved a lot. We recognize that too. I don't think it's too late to get involved at all by any means. But Bo's been coming on the show for 5 years and talking about XRP and SHIB and Bitcoin and everything else. When you first started coming on, just to put it in a little context, Bo, I mean, I think Bitcoin was as low as under $10,000 for sure.
It was, yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we started talking. It was like we were like, oh, hey, when's Bitcoin going to break above 10,000? And I remember those conversations. And 20,000 was a big one too. Yeah.
Well, and XRP for most of that time was probably under 50 cents. Now it's $2 and above $2. Bitcoin, of course, has basically done a 10x. And SHIB just came to mind as another one that over those years, I mean, it's already had some decent runs, and
look at Doge,
probably more coming. Doge,
look at Doge too, right? Doge, it started off with a few zeros, I believe. It's moved really well as well too. So there's some really coins that have moved quite a bit. But so here's the thing about Bitcoin versus these alternate coins, these smaller coins. Okay. So you'll notice that when Bitcoin goes vertical and it makes a final top, so this is just history. You can look what it did over the last top was in 2011, whenever it was, right? Then Bitcoin ended up crashing down, and we called that one down to like 14,000, but it went from what I think it was 70 down to 14,000. So that's quite the move. It's probably like whatever that 60 or 70% loss, right, in terms of value. But the alternate coins did a 90% loss. You see, so the dramatic difference is Bitcoin will drop, but the alternate coins, they go a lot deeper in terms of loss of value. But then when the bull market really gets steamrolling vertical, right, Bitcoin's going to go, but then these smaller coins, they start multiplying the performance of Bitcoin. So the only thing you have to understand about alternate coins, like SHIB, for example, you really got to get out at the right time. So you can't be holding these things forever, because you got to time these things, because when Bitcoin starts going down, these alternate coins, they really go down, if that makes sense, right? So like you can look at what, every time the XRP's gone up, right? It went up to like $3 or something, and they brought it down quite a bit. But you can look at a historic chart on XRP. It went up to $3 years ago, and they brought it down to like 50 cents or whatever it was. So, these alternate coins, they lose usually 90% of their value from the top on Bitcoin.
Well, yeah, Bo, because I'm in the XRP family, I'm very familiar with that. I saw XRP, and it depends on what exchange you're looking at, but I think the most widely accepted, it in 2017, it got up to $3.84. And I still remember that. And it was going by 50 cents or $1 per day towards the end there. Got up to 384. And then after that, then there was the whole lawsuit with the federal government, which was a whole thing. But which they won ultimately. But then it went down. I think it went down to 19 cents after that. So that's exactly what you're talking about.
But the lawsuits and everything were in the bear market while Bitcoin is going down too. You see, so when Bitcoin tops out, you need to know when Bitcoin is going to top out, because when Bitcoin tops out, and there's a time point, I already know for that time point, but after that time point, then Bitcoin's going to start dropping. And these alternate coins, they're going to start accelerating to the downside. But before that happens, they're going to accelerate to the upside. So the place to sit right now, in my personal opinion, what I'm doing is the place to sit right now, as great as Bitcoin is at 97,000, it's not going to have the performance of like what SHIB is about to do, if that makes sense, because we're at a very exciting time point when Bitcoin's about to blow. These alternate coins, boy, are they going to get fun to watch. But then you want to time this. You got to get out because at some point they're going to top out, and then they're going to start to drop. They have a down cycle again, because what's coming is after this top comes in is a very, very nasty stock market event, and Bitcoin's going to go with it.
Yeah, and I suppose I should say, Bo's not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial advisor. I talk about what I personally am doing because I've been watching this stuff since 2017. Bo puts out the time cycles there. And then everyone has to make their own decisions, because even with Bo's time cycles, everyone's situation is different. You may, a 70-year-old is in a very different situation than a 30-year-old. If you have personal needs for some, money inflow now, that's different than someone who's investing for the next 20 years. So everyone's situation is different. Everyone needs to make their own decisions. Bo puts out a ton of helpful information with these time cycles. And then everyone needs to take that and make the right choice for you. So I hope that helps. And the other thing I would tell everybody is asking about SHIB or some other ones. Everything that you see on the screen here, let me zoom in a little bit. Bo covers, in case you don't know, in Bo's newsletter, and you can see that at gold2020forecast.com. And again, you can get 50% off with the code WLT49. That's good for a limited time. It does expire. So if you're interested, go in there now. But what you see on the screen there, Bo covers more than just Bitcoin. He covers probably 10 or so coins. A lot of them are shown on the screen there. And then he also has at the end of each newsletter his personal allocation. So, he's not telling you how many he has, but he's saying, I have, 20% in this one, 15% in this one, 7% in this one. So that's something else too that I think a lot of people don't realize that Bo puts in there. So he kind of lets you know when he says, I don't think the time right now is to be in Bitcoin, the time is to be in a couple other things. He'll give you at least what he's doing, and you can then make a decision for yourself. So that's pretty cool. Bo, let me flash this on the screen. I've got a few other questions as we wrap up. I've got a lot coming in here, but HK is asking about silver. We talked about silver, possibly a big explosion coming soon. So that's awesome. But he's wondering, doesn't matter which kind of silver we buy, Cougarans, silver rounds, silver coins. And he doesn't put it in the question here. He's talking about all physical silver, but for the people maybe who don't know, what about silver ETFs that you can buy, SLV on the stock market? Talk about all that if you would.
So like you just meant, SLV, these contracts that you don't actually hold something in your hand and you believe that you have it in a paper contract, that's like run as fast as you can from that as possible, because that's like the biggest scam. That's why silver right now is under $50, because they've been scamming everybody about lying with the price. Okay, so you can, the only way to hold silver is in your hand, meaning like you have access to, whether you bury it in your backyard, whether you have it in a private storage facility, which is, a lot of what I do, private storage, you do that as well, but basically have it stored places and where you can go have direct access to it, but not in a bank, because you do not have the key to the banking institution. So safe deposit banks, deposit boxes in banks, I'm just telling you, that is not for me. And then silver itself, if you live in the United States, then the first choice you should always consider would be the American Eagle, because they come out of the U.S. Treasury. In a bull market, the first silver to ever get sold out are American Eagles. Immediately, it's gone, disappeared. And then anybody that has them, like, wow, you got eagles. So eagles are like the number one choice if you live in the US. If you live in Canada, then the best coin would be, silver coin would be the Canadian maple leaf. Why? Because it's made by the treasury over there. So whatever country you live in, you should have try to get some of the coinage of the treasury. And so that just gives you some direction there. But on the other hand, if let's say American Eagles are sold out, you can only get Krugerrands, fantastic. You can only get silver rounds, fantastic, because it's real silver. So as long as it's silver, you're good. But you got to be, the last thing is, because a lot of people don't understand a lot about silver. So be careful where you go to buy it, because there are people out there who sell silver, and there's coinage, and there's so much coinage that's come out of China that they're silver plated, and there's junk inside. It's fake. So you really got to be careful where you get stuff. So always a reputable dealer. On my website, I think I've got like 4 or 5 dealers there that are, that I personally have used in the past. And there's even some people out of country that I've never used, but I know they have a good reputation, whether it's in Europe or things like that. So again, just reputable dealers is, a place very important. You don't want to just go to some people advertising on YouTube or advertising in some ads, and you get an ad, or you go to Telegram, because people are trying to scam my name all the time on Telegram or Instagram, and say, hey, this is Bo sending you. I got this morning, I was wanting to, hey, did you just send me a text from Telegram? Like, no. I'm only on YouTube, I'm only on Rumble, and I'm only on X. And I never reach out to anybody and asking them for money, or I'll invest for you, or I'll do something for you. No, I never do any of that. And only thing I provide is you can go to my website and you can get my Bitcoin index, but I never reach out to anybody. So if someone's reaching out to you saying, hey, this is Bo, you're getting scammed.
Yeah, Telegram's the worst. Actually, I mean, I like it as a platform, but it's the worst for scammers. So yes, whether that's Bo or whether that's me or whether that's anybody else, if someone's reaching out to you on Telegram with a direct message, 99.99999% of the time it's a scam. So just avoid it, please. I've actually written a lot of articles about that. The scammers on there are relentless. So almost nobody reputable will ever reach out to you. So please don't.
Oh, and then even like on Twitter, on X, there's so many scam accounts that they're Bo, they change an L or an O. So I'm regularly got to, have my staff or myself, my wife will go and always like in Twitter, it's like there's like 5 accounts now, Bo Polny on X, but the only one that's good is one with the blue check mark. So please be careful.
There we go. All right. Well, Bo, I'm going to wrap up with one question here, but I'm just looking at my notes from our last talk couple weeks ago. I've still got May 14th circled. If people want to know why, they can go back and watch our last show from a couple weeks ago. That's a big one. And then this started this week, April 27th, 28th, and 29th. Wow. Got a big star by that one.
May 1, and right into May 1. So
right into May 1. And then
again, because remember that there's like potentially what we could see here is like 3 days of darkness, where what happens is like financial, because if we see a price explosion, that's financial Armageddon, people, meaning like financial chaos. The markets go into freak out mode because they don't want this to happen. So something's happening that wasn't supposed to happen. And then you have what's called financial gridlock for a short window of time. So we could see that here this week coming.
There we go. So there's your April dates into May 1. And then we also talked about May 31st. So some big stuff coming. It's going to be a wild spring. Bo, let me maybe end with this question. I think this might be a good one. I see this asked a lot, and people watch these shows and they say, well, this is great, but I don't have money to go buy a bunch of gold or silver or Bitcoin or XRP. So, and I know you usually end a lot of our shows talking about this. So maybe this is a great place to wrap up here. Let me put you back full screen. Donna is asking, how can the poor people be helped or insulated from this crash? And I know you've spoken on that a lot. So maybe wrap us up with this one.
Well, the reason you don't have extra funds is because the government still, the way the world works, they steal everything from you, right? It's like you got to pay mortgages, student loans, you got to pay rent, got to pay taxes. This is like, the world's crazy, and it's done intentionally to keep you poor, okay? In a godly kingdom, it's always a kingdom of more than enough. not a kingdom of lack. Okay, the devil operates in the kingdom of lack. So we're stepping into a time point which is going to be truly biblical. God's going to, this is a removal of bondage. So it's going to be whether you have means to buy precious metals or cryptocurrencies. If you don't have means, you don't have means. Okay, but know that what's going to happen is the blessings are going to come in such abundance that because you love Christ, because we're all in this together, we're all going to end up helping one another, and we're all going to be blessing one another because the blessings, the harvest comes in so great. So that's probably a good answer. If you have a little bit of extra cash, if you could get your hands on 1 ounce of silver, for example, right? It's like $38 you probably buy it for. You can go to a coin shop, get a 1 ounce at $38. The point is, just even having 1 ounce, you still have now something that God could multiply. So again, if you can't, you can't. There's coins out there that, if you know how the cryptocurrency space works, the coins out there that are fractions of a penny. So it's the blessings are coming. If you can participate and you know how the cryptocurrencies work and you know how to invest and get involved in that, then that's fantastic. If you don't, time is short, but again, there's still time to figure things out. On the other side, if you can afford to get at least 1 ounce of silver, then God can at least 2 loaves, 2 fish, and 5 loaves of bread. God had something to work with. And so it doesn't hurt if you can, in some way, shape, or form, just have a little bit of something. But if you can't, it was God stepping in because so many people can't. And this is why the great shift for humanity is about to happen.
Yeah. And, the flip side of that, too, is the people that are preparing and do have the means, and maybe God multiplies those in the coming days, weeks, and months and years. Those people, it's not really for the purpose of going out and buying Lambos and, 3 vacation homes. It's to be prepared and to help the people in the community that need that. So there's a real balance here.
That's exactly right. Because when the harvest comes in, it comes in so big that it comes in with such abundance that it's overflowing. And that's what's going to happen. I know it sounds crazy, but we are going to see abundance that's overflowing. You're like, Lord, what am I supposed to do with all this? And the answer is very simple. You bless those around you. And I'm telling you, that's coming. It is coming, and it's going to be incredible what's about to happen here. But we need God to, when you read, I love the saying, John 10:10. The devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy, but I, Christ, come to give you life more abundantly. Understand, between these two, the only way to get to life more abundantly is an act of God. And so we need an act of God to transition the world into a time of blessings and abundance.
Well, I can't think of a better way to end it than that. That was wonderful. Thank you so much to everybody for joining us. We've had a ton of people on with us on YouTube, Rumble, and X. Thank you so much for being here. Bo, congratulations. I know it's you give all glory to God, but you put in some work, and you work on these time cycles, and you nailed it twice compared to what you told us last time coming on. You got both of them just to the T. And now we're looking to the future. So congrats on that. Thanks for coming on here and sharing your time with us. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.